Captain Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the stellar horizon, watching the massive cargo containers being loaded into her ship's hold. The neon signs of Nexus Station cast shifting shadows across her face as she absently rubbed the old military insignia she kept in her pocket, a reminder of a life she'd left behind. "Final manifest check complete, Captain," announced her first officer, James Rodriguez, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of his datapad. "Everything appears to be in order." Sarah nodded, but something felt off. 15 years of running cargo through the Outer Rim had taught her to trust her instincts. "Run it again, James. Pay special attention to container series TX-397. She'd noticed the slight power fluctuation when that particular container was brought aboard. Barely a blip, but enough to catch her attention. In this business, attention to detail kept you alive. The Stellar Horizon wasn't the newest or prettiest ship in the merchant fleet, but she was reliable. More importantly, she was paid for, free and clear. Sarah had purchased her with the last of her military pension and 5 years of savings, choosing independence over corporate security. "Captain," James's voice carried an edge that confirmed her suspicions. "I'm picking up some anomalous readings from TX-397. Environmental controls are active inside the container." Sarah's jaw tightened. "What kind of cargo needs life support, James?" "According to the manifest, machine parts." Before Sarah could respond, the ship's comm system crackled to life. "Captain Chen, this is Port Authority. You're cleared for departure. Safe travels." Sarah exchanged a look with James. They both knew what finding stowaways could mean. At best, a hefty fine and lost contracts. At worst, imprisonment if they were caught transporting fugitives. But something about this felt different from your typical smuggling operation. "Acknowledge their clearance," Sarah ordered, making her decision. "But hold our position. I want to know what we're really carrying before we break orbit." She activated her personal comm unit. "Maya, meet me at Cargo Bay 3. Bring your scanner kit." Maya Chang was their engineer, and if anyone could crack open a mystery without setting off alarms, it was her. The cargo bay was eerily quiet when they arrived, the massive space filled with containers stacked 3 high. TX-397 sat innocently among them, its military-grade seal gleaming under the bay lights. Maya ran her scanner over the container's surface, her expression growing increasingly puzzled. "Captain, I'm picking up multiple life signs, and these readings suggest some kind of stasis field." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Stasis technology was strictly controlled, mainly used for medical transport or high-security prisoner transfer. Either way, this was far more complicated than simple smuggling. "Can you bypass the seal without triggering any alerts?" Maya's fingers flew over her scanner's interface. "Give me 5 minutes. But Captain, if these readings are correct, whatever's in there isn't human." Sarah gripped her old insignia tighter. She'd left the military because she couldn't stomach their increasingly aggressive stance toward non-human species. Now it seemed that decision was about to be tested. "Open it," she ordered. "Let's see what kind of trouble we've bought ourselves this time." The seal disengaged with a soft hiss as the container's door swung open. Sarah found herself staring into the crystalline eyes of a dozen Meridian refugees, their iridescent scales dulled by fear and exhaustion. Meridians were known for their advanced technological capabilities and for their ongoing rebellion against the corporate alliance that had annexed their homeworld. One of them stepped forward, his translator device flickering to life. "Captain," the synthetic voice wavered, "we seek asylum. The Alliance, they're using our people as forced labor in their quantum computing facilities. We have proof, but we needed a way off-world that wouldn't be searched." Sarah looked at the frightened faces before her, then at her crew. She knew that turning back could mean safety, but moving forward would mean becoming part of something much bigger than a simple cargo run. "James, tell Port Authority we're experiencing a minor drive calibration issue. Maya, get these people somewhere more comfortable." Sarah squared her shoulders, feeling the weight of command settle over her. We're about to remind the Alliance why humans have a reputation for causing trouble. The stellar horizon slipped into hyperspace with a subtle shudder, leaving Nexus Station and its questions behind. Sarah watched the swirling colors of hyperspace through the bridge viewport, knowing that each passing moment carried them deeper into dangerous territory. Maya's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain, you need to see this. Engineering bay now." Sarah found her engineer hunched over a holographic display, with 3 of the Meridian refugees beside her. Their crystalline scales shifted colors in the dim light, creating patterns that seemed to match their emotional state, currently a deep, troubled blue. "Show her," Maya said softly to the tallest Meridian, who stepped forward and placed a data crystal into the projector. The air filled with images that made Sarah's blood run cold. Massive underground facilities stretched endlessly, filled with meridians connected to quantum computing arrays through neural interfaces. Their scales were gray and lifeless, their eyes vacant as their minds were used as living processors. The Alliance isn't just using our people for labor, the Meridian's translator conveyed, its synthetic voice trembling. They're using us as organic components in their quantum networks. Our natural ability to process multiple dimensional calculations makes us efficient. Efficient. Sarah spat the word like a curse. "You mean they're turning your people into living computers?" "Yes. I am Vaxilin, lead researcher at Facility 7. We discovered that prolonged neural interface connection causes irreversible cognitive degradation. When we tried to shut down the program," he trailed off, his scales flickering to a deep purple of grief. James, who had followed Sarah to engineering, swore under his breath. "How many facilities are there?" 12 that we know of," another Meridian answered. "But we have the access codes to all of them. If we can reach the central command node on Asteria Prime." A proximity alarm cut through the conversation. Sarah was already moving toward the bridge before the first echo faded. "Talk to me." 3 Alliance pursuit vessels just dropped out of hyperspace, James reported, sliding into his station. "They're charging weapons." Sarah's mind raced through options. The stellar horizon was a cargo vessel, well-maintained but no match for military ships in a straight fight. But she hadn't survived this long by playing fair. "Maya, what's our status on those experimental shield modifications you were tinkering with?" "Untested, Captain. Could buy us time or blow us to pieces." Sarah smiled grimly. "Sounds like a typical day at the office. Bring them online." "James, plot a course through the Kalos Nebula. Let's see how those Alliance ships handle some ion interference." The pursuing vessels opened fire, their initial salvo dissipating harmlessly against Maya's modified shields. Sarah felt a surge of pride in her crew's ingenuity. The shields were redirecting the energy rather than absorbing it, creating a cascading feedback effect that would temporarily blind their attackers' targeting systems. "They're launching fighters," James reported. 8. No, 12 incoming. Sarah turned to find Vaxilin standing at the bridge entrance. "Your people, can they interface with our ship systems the way they did with the quantum computers?" The Meridian scales shifted to a startled gold. "Yes, but without the neural dampeners, the feedback could be intense. More intense than being captured by the Alliance." Vaxilin's translator was silent for a long moment. "I will gather the others." What followed was something Sarah had never seen in all her years of space travel. The Meridians formed a circle in the cargo bay, their scales pulsing with light as they joined their consciousness with the stellar horizon systems. The ship responded like a living thing, maneuvering with impossible precision through the nebula's charged particles. Alliance fighters exploded in their wake, unable to match their maneuvers through the electromagnetic storm. The pursuing capital ships fell behind, their sensors scrambled by both the nebula and the unique energy signature of Maya's modified shields. But victory came at a price. When the Meridians finally disconnected from the ship's systems, several collapsed, their scales barely flickering. Vaxilin remained conscious but shaken. The neural load, Without proper interfaces, we cannot maintain such connections for long. But we have bought ourselves time. Sarah helped him to his feet. Time enough to make a difference. We're not running anymore. The Alliance just made this personal. James, set course for the Outer Rim. We need to make some friends who aren't afraid of making powerful enemies. As the stellar horizon accelerated toward their new destination, Sarah looked at the exhausted Meridians being tended to by her crew. She'd left the military to avoid fighting other people's wars, but sometimes the right fight chose you. Maya, get started on designing safer interface systems for our guests. James, contact every independent captain who still owes me a favor. If the Alliance wants to enslave an entire species, they're about to learn why picking a fight with humans is always a bad idea. The neon-stained darkness of New Singapore Station spread out before the stellar horizon like a web of artificial stars. Sarah stood in the ship's observation lounge, watching as Maya and Vaxilin worked together on a holographic display, their unlikely partnership producing remarkable results. The neural interface is stable in all simulations, Maya reported, her eyes bright with excitement. We've managed to reduce the feedback by nearly 90%. Vaxilin's scales rippled with cautious optimism, a pale green that Sarah had learned to recognize over the past week. Your engineer's grasp of biochemical systems is unprecedented for a human, his translator conveyed. These modifications could revolutionize human-Meridian cooperation if we survive to implement them. Sarah was about to respond when James burst into the lounge. Captain, we got company. The good kind, for once. The main viewport filled with arriving ships, independent vessels of all shapes and sizes, from sleek corsairs to battle-scarred freighters. Sarah counted at least 15, with more dropping out of hyperspace every minute. How many answered the call? She asked, trying to keep the emotion from her voice. 23 confirmed. Another 7 pending, James replied with a grin. Turns out you're not the only captain who's tired of watching the Alliance push people around. The comm system crackled to life with a familiar drawl. Chen, you crazy woman. Only you would pick a fight with the entire corporate alliance. The voice belonged to Captain Marcus Drake of the Wayward Dream, one of the first independents Sarah had befriended after leaving military service. Good to hear your voice, Marcus. Brought some friends, I see. Had to. Nobody wanted to miss watching you stick it to the corporate tights. His tone turned serious. But Sarah, the intel you sent, if it's true about what they're doing to the Meridians, it's worse than what I sent you. We have proof, and we have a plan. Dock up and I'll show you. 2 hours later, the observation lounge had been converted into an impromptu war room. Ship captains and their senior crew crowded around the holographic display as Vaxilin presented the evidence of Alliance atrocities and their planned response. The central command node on Asteria Prime coordinates all 12 processing facilities, he explained. With the access codes we possess, we can shut down the neural networks and free our people. But the Alliance has a full battle fleet protecting the approach to Asteria Prime. Sarah finished, which is why we're not going to approach it at all. She gestured, and a hologram shifted to show a complex network of maintenance tunnels beneath the central command facility. The Alliance built their headquarters on top of an abandoned mining complex. Those tunnels are shielded against scans, supposedly to prevent industrial espionage. Their own paranoia is going to work against them. Captain Drake leaned forward, studying the layout. They'll be watching the tunnels. For traditional threats, yes. But thanks to Maya and Vaxilin's work, we have something they won't expect. Sarah nodded to Maya, who activated another hologram showing the modified neural interface designs. We've adapted Meridian neural technology to work with human physiology, Maya explained. It won't give us their natural computational abilities, but it will allow human operators to interface directly with ship systems. Reaction times measured in microseconds, perfect coordination between vessels. A murmur of excitement ran through the assembled captains. The advantage such technology would provide was obvious, but so were the risks. The interface is untested in combat conditions, Sarah acknowledged. And yes, it's dangerous. That's why I'm only asking for volunteers. We'll need 6 ships for the first phase, small fast vessels that can navigate those tunnels. The rest of the fleet will provide a distraction, hitting Alliance targets across 3 sectors. How do we know they won't just kill the Meridians if we attack? Someone asked from the back. Vaxlin's scales shifted to a determined copper. The quantum processing network is too valuable. They cannot risk damaging it. And once we reach the central node, his translator crackled with something that might have been satisfaction. Well, let us say that my people have left some surprises in their code. The planning continued deep into the station's night cycle. Ships were selected, crews volunteered, and Maya began the process of installing the neural interfaces. Sarah watched it all with a mixture of pride and concern, knowing that each person in that room was risking everything based on her word. James appeared at her side, offering a cup of coffee. Hell of a thing, isn't it? A bunch of independent captains working together, humans and Meridians sharing technology. The Alliance isn't going to know what hit them. That's assuming we survive long enough to hit them at all. Sarah took a sip of coffee. How are our guests holding up? Better, now that they can interface with our systems safely. They're teaching our crews things about spatial navigation that I didn't even know were possible. He paused. Sarah, what you're doing here, it's bigger than just freeing the Meridians. This could change everything. Sarah thought about the old military insignia in her pocket, about all the reasons she'd left that life behind. Maybe it's time for everything to change. She set down her coffee and addressed the room. All right, people. We launch in 6 hours. Get some rest, check your systems, and remember, the Alliance thinks they're untouchable because they've got all the power. Time to show them what happens when they push too far. As the captains dispersed to their ships, Sarah caught Vaxlin's eye. His scales had taken on a new color she hadn't seen before, a deep burning red that seemed to pulse with purpose. Your people, he said simply, are not what we expected. Sarah smiled. We get that a lot. Now, let's go make some history. The massive form of Asteria Prime filled the stellar horizon's view screen, its gleaming corporate spires a stark contrast to the industrial sprawl below. Sarah felt the neural interface at the base of her skull pulse gently as it synchronized with the ship's systems. The sensation was alien but not unpleasant, like having an extra set of senses suddenly come online. All ships reporting ready, James announced, his own interface giving his voice a slight electronic undertone. Marcus's fleet is in position for the diversion. Through the neural link, Sarah could feel the other 5 ships in their strike team, their crews connected in a web of shared consciousness that made traditional communication seem hopelessly primitive. Maya's modifications had worked better than anyone had dared hope. Human intuition, combined with Meridian processing capabilities, created something entirely new. Remember, Vaxlin's translated voice reached them all through the link. Once we initiate the shutdown sequence, we'll have exactly 18 minutes before their backup systems engage. After that, we're back to doing this the hard way. Sarah finished. She took a deep breath, feeling the anticipation of every connected crew member. Marcus, you're up. Show them what independence looks like. Across 3 sectors, the rebel fleet sprang into action. Cargo ships transformed into gunships, hidden weapons coming online as they struck Alliance facilities with surgical precision. The neural interfaces allowed them to coordinate with impossible accuracy, their attacks seeming to come from everywhere at once. Through the shared consciousness of the neural net, Sarah felt the moment the Alliance realized they were under attack. Panic rippled through their command structure as reports flooded in from multiple sectors. Emergency response vessels scrambled from Asteria Prime's orbital platforms, exactly as planned. They're taking the bait, James reported unnecessarily. They could all feel it. Orbital defenses are at 60% and dropping. Sarah guided the stellar horizon toward the abandoned mining complex, the other 5 ships following in perfect formation. Their enhanced reactions allowed them to weave through the automated defense grid like it was standing still. Maya's modified shields absorbed or deflected the few shots that came close. They reached the tunnel entrance without detection, their small fleet disappearing into the darkness beneath the Alliance's feet. Through the neural link, Sarah could sense the mounting tension in her crew, the fierce determination of the Meridians, and the growing excitement as they approached their target. The first real resistance came at a security checkpoint deep underground. Alliance guards opened fire, but the neural interfaces gave their reflexes an inhuman edge. Stunning bolts found their targets before the guards could radio for help. Time check. Sarah vocalized through the link. 14 minutes to backup systems. Maya responded instantly. But Captain, we've got a problem. These tunnels, they're not just shielded against scans. They're designed to collapse in case of intrusion. Sarah felt Vaxlin's alarm spike through the network. The Alliance would destroy their own facility. They would if they thought they were about to lose it, James growled. We need to move faster. They encountered heavier resistance as they approached the central command node. Alliance security forces had finally realized something was wrong, but they were fighting blind in their own tunnels, unable to coordinate effectively against an enemy they couldn't track. Through it all, Sarah felt a growing sense of wrongness. This is too easy, she sent through the link. Even with our advantages. The thought was cut short as they reached the central chamber. The massive quantum processing core pulsed with ethereal light, its neural connections stretching up through the ceiling toward the facility above. But it wasn't the technology that made them all stop short. Director Elizabeth Chen, Sarah's older sister and head of Alliance Special Projects, stood waiting for them. Hello, little sister, Elizabeth said calmly. I've been expecting you. Sarah felt the shock ripple through the neural network, threatening to destabilize their connection. She fought to maintain control even as memories she tried to forget came flooding back. Arguments about ethics, about progress at any cost, about the day she'd walked away from both her family and her military career. Lizzie, Sarah kept her voice steady, still justifying atrocities in the name of advancement. Advancement. Elizabeth gestured to the quantum core. This is evolution, Sarah. Willing partnership between species, reaching heights neither could achieve alone. Did your Meridian friends tell you that many of their people volunteered for the program? After you threatened their families, Vaxlin's scales flared with anger. After you proved what happened to those who refused. Details. Elizabeth waved dismissively. The point is, the technology works. Humanity needs this edge, Sarah. You've seen what's out there in the deep black. We won't survive without every advantage we can get. Not at this price. Sarah felt her crew's support through the neural link, their conviction strengthening her own. And not your way. She raised her weapon, but Elizabeth just smiled. 9 minutes until the backup systems engage. Sure you want to waste time fighting me? Besides, she stepped aside, revealing the real reason for her confidence. Behind her, dozens of neural interfaces pulsed with sickly light, connected to minds that were more machine than Meridian now. I have some volunteers who'd like to say hello. The enslaved Meridians moved forward, their scales gray and lifeless, but their technological capabilities fully under Alliance control. Sarah felt Vaxlin's horror through the link, matched by her own growing realization that this confrontation would test more than just their tactical abilities. This was a battle for the soul of human-alien relations, and her sister had just raised the stakes to impossible heights. Sarah felt time slipping away as she faced the controlled Meridians, her sister's smug expression revealing just how thoroughly she believed she'd won. But through the neural network, Sarah sensed something her sister couldn't: hope, burning like a star in Vaxlin's consciousness. Now, Sarah, Elizabeth continued, be reasonable. You've seen what this technology can do. Imagine it refined, perfected, humanity reaching its full potential. You still don't get it, do you? Sarah interrupted. This was never about technology. It's about choice. about dignity. She turned to Vaxilin. Do it. Through their shared neural connection, Vaxilin activated the code his people had hidden in the system years ago, waiting for this moment. The quantum core's rhythm faltered, its light flickering as buried commands executed. Elizabeth's confidence wavered. What did you do? We gave them a choice, Vaxilin answered, his scales blazing with triumph. The controlled meridians began to stir, their neural connections weakening as the hidden program spread through the network. Even in slavery, we never stopped fighting. Every enslaved mind carried a fragment of the liberation code, waiting to be activated. Sarah felt it through the neural link, consciousness after consciousness awakening, breaking free from Alliance control. The gray scales of the enslaved meridians began to pulse with color once more. 7 minutes to backup systems, Maya warned through the network. Elizabeth's hand moved toward her sidearm, but Sarah was faster, enhanced reflexes bringing her weapon to bear. Don't. It's over, Lizzie. The Alliance can't hide this anymore. You think this changes anything? Elizabeth snarled. We'll just start over. The galaxy doesn't run on ideals, Sarah. It runs on power. Wrong again. Sarah nodded to Maya, who initiated the second phase of their plan. Through the neural network, Sarah felt Marcus's fleet receiving the signal. All across Alliance space, their ships were broadcasting the truth. Video evidence of the slavery, testimonies from the freed Meridians, proof of the Alliance's crimes. 6 minutes, James updated. We need to move. But Elizabeth wasn't finished. She slammed her hand down on a console, and warning klaxons began to blare. If I can't have this facility, no one will. Complete tunnel collapse in 3 minutes. Try saving everyone before your precious backup systems engage. Sarah felt the first tremors through her boots as the tunnel support systems began to fail. Through the neural link, she coordinated with her crew instantly. Maya, James, get the freed Meridians to the ships. Vaxilin, download everything you can from the core. We need proof that will stand up in court. What about her? James nodded toward Elizabeth, who was backing toward a hidden exit. Sarah felt the weight of command, of family, of everything that had led to this moment. I'll handle my sister. The next 3 minutes were chaos, but with their neural interfaces operating at peak efficiency, they moved like a single organism. Ships that would normally require full crews operated with just 2 or 3 people. The freed Meridians, their own natural abilities enhanced by Maya's modified interfaces, helped coordinate the evacuation. Sarah cornered Elizabeth at her escape route. You're coming with us. You'll stand trial for what you've done. Trial. Elizabeth laughed bitterly. You still don't understand power, little sister. I am the Alliance. Do you think they'll let you expose this? The corporations. Her words cut off as Sarah stunned her. The corporations just did. She said to her unconscious sister. Through the neural link, she could feel the success of Marcus's broadcast. The Alliance's own communications network had betrayed them, spreading the truth faster than they could suppress it. 1 minute to total collapse. Maya's warning spurred them to final action. Sarah threw Elizabeth over her shoulder and ran for the stellar horizon, feeling rather than seeing the other ships launching through their shared connection. They cleared the tunnels with seconds to spare, the ground collapsing behind them as they rose into Asteria Prime's sky. The orbital platforms, their defenses still focused on Marcus's fleet, never saw them coming. Backup systems engaging, James reported as they broke atmosphere. But it doesn't matter now. The core is destroyed, and the truth is out. Multiple Alliance worlds are already reporting protests. Corporate stocks are in freefall. Sarah looked at her unconscious sister, then at the freed Meridians being tended to by her crew. Through the neural interface, she felt their mixture of relief, vindication, and lingering trauma. Get us out of here. Plot a course for New Singapore Station. The independent captains will ensure Elizabeth faces justice, not a corporate cover-up. As the stellar horizon jumped to hyperspace, Sarah felt a new sensation through the neural network, the first threads of true partnership between humans and Meridians, based not on exploitation, but on mutual respect and shared purpose. What happens now? Vaxlin asked, his scales shimmering with uncertain colors. Sarah removed her neural interface, feeling the connection fade but knowing something more important remained. Now we build something better. Together. The alliance would survive in some form. Corporations always did. But they'd learned an expensive lesson about the true nature of power. It wasn't about technology, or control, or even wealth. It was about people, human and alien alike, choosing to stand together against injustice. As the stellar horizon carried them toward an uncertain future, Sarah finally understood why she'd left the military all those years ago. She'd been waiting for a cause worth fighting for, a way to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in dominating other species, but in standing with them. The revolution wouldn't be easy. But with the truth exposed, with humans and Meridians working together as equals, with a network of independent captains ready to defend their newfound alliance, they had a real chance to change the galaxy. And that, Sarah thought, was worth any price.